Hello, hello! I am Blazerunner, you can call me Blaze, and I've been thinking about the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers Disney Plus exclusive film ever since it came out. Man, that was so long ago. That was too long ago. Why am I still thinking about this movie? Where are the ratings on it now? Are you... What? This pile of shit? Are you kidding me? Okay. Getting ahead of myself, let's put aside some disclaimers. Number 1, I'm going to assume you've seen this movie and you remember it. This video is exactly what it says on the tin. I am not doing a play-by-play of what happens. If you haven't seen it, this video is not going to make much sense, okay? Number 2, I have sources for the main facts of the video in the description, but obviously my qualitative statements are my opinions. You can disagree with my opinions. We can still be friends at the end of it, I hope. Number 3, I'm going to shit all over this movie, but I am not actually going to insult the people who made it. This film was doomed from conception. That will become clearer throughout the video. And number 4, some background on me. I really like media analysis. I'm the kind of person who watches interviews and behind-the-scenes stuff. I love dissecting art and figuring out the why and how of something. I especially love animation. I can't do it myself, but I have a huge respect for the people that do. To think I like a movie that talks about VFX and animation, but it's the hyperfixation I have that makes me despise it instead. Alright, I'm hoping with all of that you have a better idea of where I'm coming from. Now, let's get into it! Whoopee! The only reason I watched this movie, as an adult, alone, in front of a computer, with a Disney Plus subscription thoroughly shoved up my ass, was because I thought this was one of those cartoon characters sits in the passenger seat of a car with a big name actor or whatever. I thought it was one of those movies, and I made an entire video about it. It's not great, but it's 2 hours long, and that's what matters. That means I know what I'm talking about, right? Actually, no, there's a lot about that video I want to change, but I'm gonna use my extensive knowledge of stupid movies with hybrid animation that no one cares about to bitch and complain about what I can probably call, actually no, I can definitely call my least favorite movie. I cannot describe to you the level of rage I felt watching this film. So I'm just gonna give you a clip of my recording of me watching this film for the first time.
Dale was right. Nah, not cliche. I know, it is a bit unoriginal, right?
I'm gonna cry. I'm going to fucking sit here. I'm gonna sob right now, because storytelling is dead. It's like, oh, it's because she was a red herring. That's not a red herring! That's just lying! You're just a liar! I want to rage quit a movie for the first time in years. I watched all the Alvin and the Chipmunks, okay? All the way through. I sat through Hop, okay? I know what I'm doing. I can take cringe. This is too much. How did we get here, huh? Well, there's this guy named Robert Rugen, and he pitched an idea to Disney of a CGI live-action hybrid version of Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. And Disney was like, that sounds like a cool idea. Let's get Mandeville Productions to do it. They've done some movies for us. Like the Muppet movies, for example. Those were cool. So they were like, yeah, let's make this movie. Back in 2014. Yeah, you heard me right, 2014. For some reason, the project fell through and it ended up not happening. Until it did. According to an article on Robert's own website, apparently there were several drafts written up of this movie, and it was supposed to be an origin story for the detective agency that Chip and Dale, you know, they have it in the show. That's the point of the show. I've never seen the show. But to me, this makes total sense because even the articles out at the time were comparing it to Alvin and the Chipmunks and Smurfs. I guess Disney heard the idea and knew that these hybrid movies were making big numbers in the box office, so they kind of wanted to replicate that success with whatever IPs they had. So in 2019, all of a sudden, they're talking about this movie again, except they're not using any of... what's his name? Robert? So they took Robert's ideas and tossed them in the garbage and decided to go a completely different direction, that being a meta direction. Alright, we have a CGI live-action hybrid movie that is a meta-commentary on the animation industry made by one of the most powerful animation companies in the world, and it's only coming out on Disney Plus and not even in theaters. If I could quote a song from one of the worst Disney movies ever, it was a recipe for disaster. But if you agree with, these ratings, I'm sure you're confused right now. Recipe for disaster, but I like that movie. It's funny, it's a good time, I like the animation. Alright, I want to ask you something. You, specifically you, the person watching this video. Hi. Okay. I'm gonna assume that you're really smart and you have amazing media literacy. If you've ignored the beginning of this video, or it's been a while, and you want to engage in the content of this video seriously, I want you to go and watch the Chip and Dale movie again. Except this time, every time they make a self-aware or self-referential or meta joke, I want you to take it as not meta, okay? For example, Ugly Sonic. Seriously, does Sonic have any appeal to outsiders other than being memed on? Oh, right, you don't know.
That's the jackpot. He's got it. He wins the prize, an aromatic chunk of cheese.
I'm a huge Sonic fan. Okay, that's an understatement. He's a blue tumor that's been growing in my brain since I was 11. Anyone who knows me is probably wondering, what do you think about Ugly Sonic being in the movie? Well, in my circle, I call him the shaved rat, but really, I didn't have any strong feelings about it. Nothing about my opinion on the rat has changed. If anything, he's just yet another representation of the largest problem with this movie. The fact that there were people in Disney who looked at this script and greenlit it, not realizing it made them look like the world's biggest hypocrites. You think I'm making money from this? You might be wondering what I mean by that. Lucky for you, that's what I'll be getting into. Specifically regarding Ugly Sonic, the movie frames him as the embarrassment he is. He's a guy with a distinct lack of self-awareness, trying to take ownership of the ridicule that gets flung at him, a la, you can't hurt my feelings if I'm in on the joke. This line, right here, is the core tenet of the two writers' approach to Chip and Dale. One hole I see in the argument I'm gonna make throughout this video is, it's not the writer's fault Disney is the way it is. That's correct, which is why I'm criticizing the fact this script was greenlit from conception. It tells me that, yes, corporate is perfectly aware that the most famous entertainment company shaped animation and VFX into what it is today. Instead of acknowledging their power and influence and seeking to create better business practices, they acknowledge it and move on. It's like lampshading in real life. So, again, I'm not faulting the people working on the movie. I know I said that a lot now, but I want to make myself perfectly clear. I feel for the overworked, underpaid creatives. I made fun of Chicken Little earlier in this video, but it was Michael Eisner who kneecapped the project, not the people making it. If you don't know that story, I recommend A Tale of Greed, Why Disney Ruined Chicken Little by Buried Entertainment. It'll be linked in the description. So how was Chip and Dale's views on animation kneecapped by Disney? Well, one of the first things the general audience noticed about this movie the moment the trailer came out was the characters they were saying were 2D animated in-universe were not 2D animated. In fact, they were 3D with certain shaders put on them to be cel-shaded. And, I don't know, I don't think that's 2D animation. And I think they did this because they didn't give this movie that big of a budget, but, you know, it kind of defeats the purpose of what you're trying to say with the movie, huh? Like, this is seriously a movie about animation in the animation industry, and you're trying to be meta, and yet you don't point out the fact that your 2D animated characters aren't actually 2D. That's not to say there isn't 2D animation. I really liked the bootleg Simpsons. They reminded me of how they looked in the first Simpsons short, Goodnight. And the animation itself was done really well. This shot with younger Peter Pan looking into the mirror was great too. You can see the same level of craftsmanship in some of the background 2D characters. That's why it's such a shame the main characters weren't given the same treatment. This movie had a budget of $70 million, which isn't unusual for hybrid movies. Animators are given some insane deadlines too. With how complex films are nowadays, it's a miracle anything gets done. Now here we are. Disney was okay with a movie that actively criticizes and pokes fun at them. Yet, how serious can that sentiment be when the studios that made it weren't given enough resources to produce the intended vision? With this in mind, it feels to me like Disney is just giving lip service. If they cared, I would have seen that in the final product. Alright, that's pretty surface level, but let's get into something a little bit more abstract and more having to do with the themes of the film. This story's plot is about bootleg movies. Something being a bootleg movie would mean it's an unauthorized copy of the film obtained through illegal means that's sold for profit. That's not what a bootleg movie is in this universe. Really, they're rip-off movies, or mockbusters. They're just different enough to dodge copyright, but similar enough to confuse your grandma into buying what she thought was Kung Fu Panda or Ratatouille. When I heard mention copyright laws, I said,
"You're fucking one to talk, Disney, about copyright laws. You can fuck right off. I hope this company burns to the ground. God damn it. Copyright laws. Go fuck yourselves."
Disney fought for decades to keep the copyright on Steamboat Willie. For works published during or after 1978, copyright expires 70 years after the death of the author. Unless you're a zygote, you're probably dead by the point something enters the public domain. Oh, but if it was made before 1978, then it's 95 years after it was published. That's why a short from 1928 entered the public domain recently. You can thank Disney for changing copyright to make that happen twice.
Objection!
Okay. Well, that changes things. This is why you do your research, guys. I guess my point is that this bill did not enhance the long-term value, vitality, or accessibility of the public domain. Steamboat Willie is proof of that, given its age. Without the public domain, copyright needs to be bought with money. Disney's got the money. They can buy out a bunch of companies that own profitable intellectual properties to monopolize the entertainment industry for decades to come. And that's exactly what they're doing. I know, I was wrong before. Copyright isn't fucked in the way I thought it was, okay? So, it still comes down to money. Making art into a commodity does not inspire creativity, it stifles it. That's why the most profitable movies to come out in recent years are remakes, sequels, and adaptations. These movies existing wouldn't be so bad if they weren't so terribly mediocre. Lion King 2019 is the highest grossing animated movie of all time, and yet these are its ratings? Who cares about quality as long as people vaguely remember the good thing you just so happen to have the rights for? Regardless, the final iteration of this script conveniently sidesteps discussing copyright. If you're not able or willing to, then leave it out of the story. They changed the definition of a bootleg, for crying out loud. This story is about mockbusters. Talk about mockbusters. No, because then a Disney movie would have to talk about piracy, and boy, that would be embarrassing. How much does Disney Plus cost a year? $120? With ads? What the fuck? Speaking of Disney live-action remakes, again, do you have any original ideas or are you just recycling old scripts? Really? The name of the game is oversaturation of the nostalgia market and Disney's the reigning champion. Okay, yeah, Disney poopy. Me no likey when Disney make bad movie. It sounds dumb when their hypocrisy is my only criticism. Did you actually rewatch the movie like I suggested earlier? Thanks for hearing me out, by the way. I invite you to recall the meta jokes I talked about earlier. Remember when I said to think about them as in-universe, non-meta jokes instead? When the jokes aren't meta anymore, what did they have to say about what was happening in the movie? Do you have any original ideas, or are you just recycling old scripts? Is a criticism of Dale's character being stuck in the past. That's good. In fact, with the CGI surgery, the talk of reboots, and his connections with other toons, Dale's entire backstory and character arc blend much better with the plot than Chip's does. But his integration only goes as far as to move the plot forward. Dale learns to prioritize his friends over his work life, but even by the end of the movie, he's still talking about making a reboot. Peter Pan slyly says, "I think it's time for a Chip and Dale reboot," earlier in the film. Let's extrapolate on that. Can reboots be crappy copies of the original, like Mockbusters? How can we make that relate to Dale? Maybe he realizes that rebooting Chip and Dale won't mean anything if the core of their partnership isn't there to back it up. It would have been all the iconography with no heart. See, the potential is there, but what does the movie do with it? The detective mystery is only a framing device for non-stop meta-humor. All jokes, no substance. All of them are distilled from opinions on the internet instead of anywhere genuine. How this script makes Disney look like hypocrites is their lack of self-awareness. To be metatextual is to have self-awareness. It's the definition of the word. I fucking hate this blight of pointless lampshading. It infected the entertainment industry faster than COVID. And like COVID, people act like it's not a problem until it is. Thanks, Marvel! You started COVID! Wait, hold on. My point is, I hate lampshading because lampshading isn't productive, not to the plot or the themes. For the writer, it's easier to acknowledge what the audience might be thinking without taking it seriously enough to engage in it. There are topics in this film chock full of potential that they just never get into. They make so many jokes about the weird dead eyes and the 3D animation in early to mid-2000s movies. Image Movers made some of the most infamous examples with their mocap movies, like Polar Express. But you know who made a joint venture with them? Disney. So after the partnership, Image Movers made the Jim Carrey Christmas Carol, which was good, but terrifying. Then the YouTube movie reviewer Wet Dream, Mars Needs Moms. The partnership would have kept going if that movie didn't bomb harder than the KT extinction, so Disney shut it down. Then they go ahead and make a Polar Express joke in this movie. Regardless of how you feel about Image Movers, isn't it a little weird that a movie by Disney doesn't at least acknowledge this? This was a huge deal. Robert Zemeckis founded Image Movers. You know what movies he had a hand in? Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Forrest Gump? Every Back to the Future? Funny how they meme on Polar Express when Disney literally bought the company that made it. You might be thinking, why the hell would Chip and Dale bring up this Image Movers story that most people never heard of or care about? The thing is, Disney changed the course of motion capture in the film industry forever, and that's not worth bringing up, but the Ant-Man joke that's gonna age like room temperature yogurt is. Okay. Jokes are more concerned about appealing to the general audience and not towards the subject matter that they're discussing. That's why they'll bring up weird dead eyes without reminding the audience where that uncanniness came from, then saying something about it. I understand the average audience member not knowing that information, but don't worry, I have more. There's a part of the movie where they go to a place that's literally called the Uncanny Valley. There's a Cats reference there and everything. And jokes and memes are aplenty, but, Uncanny Valley? Look at your own movie! They dare talk about the Uncanny Valley when Dale's design looks like this? You might say Alvin and the Chipmunks look worse, but they only give representations to their first designs. By their last movie, Road Chip, they evened out their proportions. I thought they looked pretty appealing. They seem to have replicated Dale's anatomy from the cartoon, but I think this takes away from his CGI design. Covering up his eyes for the poster was the best choice because the alternative is... oh god. The bulging blue eyes just do not work for me. And don't even get me started on his mouth. Also, they had Seth Rogen Pumbaa make fun of the weird dead eyes when his place in the Uncanny Valley is subterranean. Look at this thing! Now, don't get me wrong, I love the use of purposefully old-looking CG in the film. I got a chuckle from 3D in Your Face News. And you could argue that Dale looks this way on purpose. His design aging poorly in a few years' time is the point. Okay, that's a good idea. Yet, a good idea with no exploration is an elevator pitch, not a motif. Dale got the CGI surgery, didn't he? What if people tell him that he'll age poorly? You know, like what people who get cosmetic surgery are told. But it has a double meaning because CGI ages more poorly than 2D, even if the advanced tech gives you a temporary place in the spotlight. That could have said something about how the technical and artistic genius of today is the parody of tomorrow. Heck, some of Chip's coworkers are older 3D models. Chip could have seen some of the characters in the Uncanny Valley, a lot of them old 3D models, and sympathized with them. He sees the weird dead eyes in the Uncanny Valley, then sees it again in bootlegged CGI characters. Chip could realize that they're not all that different, especially since Peter Pan got a bunch of Uncanny Valley characters to help with his bootleg movies. I think that could speak to how he's forcing the bootleg victims to see life from their weird dead eyes. Everything I said here is conjecture on my part. I'm just making my own plot at this point. When it comes to the text of the film, it's narratively vacant. Everything having to do with the bad CGI, the weird dead eyes, the whatever, it doesn't relate to the bootleg plot that they've built up at all. There's nothing. Despite what little this movie had to say, I tried my best to fish some kind of meaning out of it. A story can't be completely without substance, no matter how much I dislike it. The Uncanny Valley is full of characters that approximate real people or animals, but really they're just off-putting facsimiles. Chip and Dale were never really detectives. That was just their show. Bootlegs aren't the movies you remember, but they're close enough to remind you of them. Toons are said to be CGI versions of themselves while still being the same character, like with Baloo, but Ugly Sonic specifies that he's not the Sonic. In my search of some kind of meaning, I found a commonality. Inauthenticity. Nothing is as it seems. Chip, Dale, and Ellie all move past that inauthenticity by uncovering their own lies or someone else's. But the plot keeps up the pretense. Well, I've been keeping up a pretense too. Everything I said has been leading to the hot take of the video. I believe Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, the 2022 movie on Disney Plus, is a spiritual successor to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Change my mind. Oh. Okay. Hello? This isn't a hot take? Literally everyone on the internet has said this. Well, I already drew the meme, so... Now, I say spiritual successor and not an outright sequel because this film has more in common with the book than the movie. Oh yeah, for the not media-obsessed nerds out there, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a loose adaptation of the book Who Censored Roger Rabbit. Short aside here, I listened to an audiobook version by Son of Herodotus, I think that's how you pronounced it, here on YouTube. He had a really great voice for Baby Herman, and he included movie quotes, sound effects, and music that really added to the experience. I thanked the creator already, but I want to mention them here again. The book itself was a lot of fun, and also a great mystery that pulled me in. It's super different from the movie, so watching the movie will not spoil you of the book. This video will spoil it, however. It's kind of inevitable. If you care about the ending to Who Censored Roger Rabbit, I'd leave now. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers had a common theme of inauthenticity, and so did Who Censored Roger Rabbit. The DeGreasy brothers in the book and Judge Doom in the movie aren't real people. They're toons masquerading as people. An ordinary tea kettle turns out to be a magic genie lamp. Look, I told you it was different from the movie. Not to mention everyone is lying in one form or another for their own purposes. But most of all, toons can make copies of themselves for dangerous stunts, called doppelgangers. Roger makes one before he's killed, so censoring, in this sense, is the term used when a toon is killed. The Roger Rabbit the audience gets to know isn't even the real Roger Rabbit. And I do mean everyone when I say they lie, including Roger Rabbit. At the end of Who Censored Roger Rabbit, Roger's doppelganger is about to fade away. These things aren't permanent, they have to fall apart at some point. This is the last remnant of Roger, before he's gone forever. Eddie is with him as he's fading. Eddie was trying to prove Roger's innocence and killing Rocco the whole time. He stated over and over again that he believed in Roger. He was framed, but in this moment, Eddie tells it like it is. Roger did kill Rocco. He knew it, they both knew it, but Eddie helped him and declared he was innocent anyway. In his last moments, Roger says to him, "So, while I play dumb for you, you play sap for me." And this isn't spoken in an angry tone, it's spoken tenderly, and he calls Eddie a stand-up guy for doing it. That was it. That was when everything clicked! Remember in the movie, when Eddie goes, "That's it! That's the connection!" That's pretty much how I felt. Think about it. No matter how physically different a cartoon character is, the one thing that connects people and toons is emotion. So when Roger talked about how people and toons have the same emotions earlier in the story, I think that's why toons connect through fiction and laughter. The emotions are very much human, no matter what. You get it now, right? Roger's and Eddie's bond was forged through an unspoken agreement between each other. This agreement is called the suspension of disbelief. The creators know the intent of their work and the audience knows it's fake, but they play along anyway for the sake of their partnership, for their friendship. Isn't that so cool? It describes the connection between reality and fiction, and it's used as the emotional crux of Eddie's and Roger's relationship. It's meta, but it has something to say. Toons connect to people through emotion. And what expresses emotion more than art? And now think about what happens when that art is commodified. Hence we get a movie like Chip and Dale, where the emotions, the very thing toons use to connect with humans, are suddenly absent. The genuine emotion that peddles art is overshadowed by the need for profit. There was a part in my commentary where I was unfair.
You know, I feel like this movie would be a cool idea. Too bad it's been done already.
Let's be honest, things have changed since Who Framed Roger Rabbit. There's social media, video streaming, CGI, AI-generated art, motion capture, VR, indie projects. Just look at everything Roger Rabbit never got to talk about. The advancement of technology and the commodification of art has gotten so out of hand that the audience are not even expected to take it seriously. There's an evocative moment in Chip and Dale, the climax. The bootlegging machine blows up, and when it does, fireworks are set off in the shape of Mickey's symbol. When You Wish Upon a Star plays, then it's abruptly cut off. The machine starts acting on its own and changes Peter into a mangle of assorted body parts from a whole bunch of different franchise characters. This moment, it's trying to reach out of the screen. It's trying to talk to me. It's trying to say something. I listened really hard. I tried. Do the writers know? Are they trying to even say something? I may not know exactly what this moment says, but I'll tell you what it means to me. This film doesn't say, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. It purposefully pulls back the curtain over and over. It points and says, see? We know there's a man behind the curtain. It's okay. We're not lying to you. We get it. They forgot about the unspoken agreement, the suspension of disbelief. How can we play sap for them when they won't play dumb for us? The connection, we lost it. And that's why this is my least favorite movie. If the people making this saw that, or cared to see it, I don't know, maybe they could have made something out of it. But instead, it's a giant dump on every creative in and out of Hollywood. It's a monument to everything wrong with the animation and VFX industry, and they wear it like a badge of honor. Thanks, underpaid, overworked people who are forced to move to Canada. Thanks for holding up the entire movie industry. Here's 97 minutes of getting shat on, and you have to make it. Disney is not a person. Well, not anymore. They are a company. Their movies are made by people, and they aren't incompetent or evil, far from it. Their projects pass through many, many hands because they need to get their media out within a certain amount of time with a certain amount of money. Because of the reality of the economy, art is commodified. Because of this, a film about the commodification of art didn't live up to its potential because of the commodification of art. With that in mind, the Chip and Dale movie was a victim in all of this. It wants to be something it can't be, and it frustrates me to no end that it isn't. I hope I've shown here that a film like this can be done right. It could have been the spiritual successor that Roger Rabbit deserves. I know I've crapped on them a lot, but Disney isn't the supervillain of this story. It's me being generally unhappy with how the industry is right now. Disney just embodies a lot of that. I hope things improve. Until then, I'll keep supporting the art that defies the system that churns out lukewarm experiences like this one. If you heard me say all of this and you still like the movie or think it's good, I'm not here to take that away from you. I believe people should absorb their experiences and take as much good from it as they can. The good I got from this movie is I got to make this YouTube video. Hey, this was a lot of fun. Maybe I should make more.
Things are never black as they are painted. I want you to join I wanna smile down your smile.